And we are live on YouTube. All right, cool. Hello, everybody. So today's
Hey,
session, good to see you, Cheryl. Hello, Lisa. Hello, Sean. This is going to be highly interactive. So we'd love for everybody to turn on your cameras, and we also would love for you to join in on the conversation. So if you have any questions, or if there's anything that comes up randomly, feel free to chime in. You're not interrupting. It's all part of what today's about. And we want to get you guys as much value as possible in this hour that we have together. And I know Pete and I were just talking, and we'll go into our introductions here shortly about not just authenticity, but vulnerability and being able to, if there is something that comes up for you, being able to share or ask your most vulnerable question is going to get you the best results. So come with an open heart, come with an open mind. We're here to help you guys. And who knows, maybe you'll teach us something new today. It's quite possible. It can happen. Anything else you'd like to add to that, Pete?
no, I think you covered it off beautifully there. Absolutely. If you would like to come on camera, please do so. It just adds to the intimacy of conversation. But of course, if you don't want to do that, that's also fine. So if you just want to listen and observe, that's perfectly fine with us. If you'd rather not talk, there's a chat function as well, so you can just drop your questions or observations in the chat as well. So yeah, I think we should we get started?
Yeah. So everyone who's here, if you could, we'd love to know where you're from. If you want to share in the chat, that's cool. Uh, if you want to share with the collective, whatever's best for you, we're open either way. We'd love to know where you're from, what you do, and perhaps where's your biggest challenge with your habit.
Recording in progress.
Currently. Here, I think we just need to mute. I think he got it figured out. Okay, cool. So where's your current challenge with your habits in your life currently? If you could put that in the chat, we'd love to be able to. We have an idea what we want to talk about, but we'd love to know. So maybe there's something we can dive deeper into. Cheryl says, I'm in Chicago suburbs. I'm a wholesale jeweler and a real estate wholesaler. Cheryl, yes, Cheryl's awesome. I have the pleasure of having her in my Leading with the Heart challenge that I am hosting currently and working with her with another coach. So happy you're here. All right. And we can go ahead and just dive into our introductions too. Pete, you want to go first?
Yeah, sure. Thank you. Um, let's just jump into Sean. Sean's actually just commented as well. So Sean, I know you. We know each other, don't we? So you're from England, Wolverhampton, and training to be a mindset coach currently, which is awesome. So yeah, Sean, keep up that good work. And it's great to see you on this call. So thank you for joining us today. If you have any other questions, feel free to drop them into the chat. So thank you, Sean. So I'll go ahead in my introduction. So I'm also from England, Wolverhampton. I'm currently a business performance and mindset coach. I actually left my 9 to 5 in May this year after 25 years. I worked for a large bank organization. I was a software engineer, and I managed and led a team of software engineers around the country. Um, After 25 years, I decided that was enough. After several restructures, I decided to follow my dream of coaching, And my dream of coaching actually started roughly in 2019, where I dropped my son off at school and I decided to go for a walk around the park and I just went live on my phone and I never looked back from there really because that was something that I realized that I had a passion for, helping people, um, and simply guiding people to their journey of, where their passion lies, because I don't think everyone necessarily finds it straight away. I think if you can try new things and find your passion, exactly what I did, um, and I think, if you're happy in what you do daily, then that is what I found, and I'm encouraging other people to do the same. So yeah, that's me, Lauren. Do you want to go next?
Beautiful. Thank you, Pete. It's been a pleasure getting to know you and being able to host this event with you today, and just grateful for you in general. So thank you for sharing that. So yeah, I am Lauren Pichardo. The Subconscious Muse is uh my business name, or my other name you can call me. I call myself an intuitive mind muse. I'm a leader healer. I also am a performance coach. I dive really deep with people into their unconscious patterns and faulty programming that's keeping them stuck in either their business or personal lives, with the goal of helping people live limitless lives so they can truly wake up every morning, every day, look in every direction of their lives and feel like, wow, this is bliss. This is exactly where I want to be. And a bit of my story, I have a long story, so I'm going to give you a very short synopsis. uh, I've been doing a bit of this work since I was a kid. I grew up in a broken home. I Both my parents loved me dearly, but it was a very dysfunctional pattern family. And I knew I didn't want to repeat those patterns. And I did a lot of things wrong for many years and was heavily bullied when I was a kid by my sibling, which gave me quite a thick skin and helped me turn to poetry, which is actually another one of my passions, is writing poetry to help other people see beyond fear and really pour most of their energy in more of that powerful mindset approach. But my daughter was my catalyst. She is now 10. She turns 11 on, in the US, we call it Halloween, which is on October 31st. And man, I can't believe she's 11. That's so crazy. Okay, so anyways, she was the catalyst. I knew when she was in my belly, I didn't want to keep living that way. And I was working at a bank at that time. And I was actually just a business banker, then mortgage banker, and I also started as a personal banker, but I knew it wasn't where I wanted to be. And I knew the things that I was doing in my life weren't things that I wanted to do. I was kind of just numbing myself. But man, the second she was in my belly, it was like a fire lit up in my soul. And I've been running, running forward ever since to work on my self development and habits and to get out of my own way so that I could lead by example and be the best version of myself for my daughter. And that turned into me becoming self employed around 2019, 2020 ish. And then that turned into me being a coach. And I jumped in 2020, and here we are. So that's my very long story short. I hope that gives you kind of an idea of my passion and drive for this work. But I know that it's possible to completely evolve and shift every single aspect of your life and pour yourself and your energy in a direction that's more ideal and productive for you, and truly wake up every day and say, wow, this is beautiful because I've done it. So I want to give that gift back.
Yeah. Thank you, Lauren, for sharing that. And I think since we've been connected, I mean, I don't think it's any kind of it's not by luck that we've been connected. I think we've got so many so many parallels between us. Um, it's
Right.
quite alarming actually how much parallel we have between each
Right.
other. Um, we've just recently properly shared our backstory, haven't we? In terms
Yep.
of childhood, in terms of where we've come from, and what sparks us and what ignites our soul into what we now do. And I think the more we talk, the more the more fire it just creates, it just spreads because and I think we are doing this today not only just to share our wisdom on habits and obviously listen to other people's wisdom as well, because we're not here just to chat to people. Um, but the fire that we're creating is spreading amongst other people in a good way, obviously, and that just that brings up such a positivity to both myself because I'm giving something back, but also when I see other people, it just makes me feel so good. So if I can see them doing it to other people as well, and then sharing those kind of feelings, it's an incredible way of living and a way of being. So it's not just the monotonous 9 to 5 getting up and, moaning about your day and still doing the same tomorrow. Because I think it's in everyone's control to change, to make changes. And this is why habits, I think today is a big subject that we're going to talk about.
Absolutely. And I love what you just shared. One thing I want to start with everybody that's talking about, you just said it, living in alignment, right? That's the goal. That is really what everyone is working towards in life is truly living in an aligned state. And to start doing that, you have to get really honest with yourself. You have to get very honest with yourself. You have to be able to look in the mirror and say, is this who I want to be? Am I proud of this version of myself? And everybody's completely different. No two people are the same. So what works for me is not going to work for Pete. It's not going to work for Cheryl. It's not going to work for Sean. We all have to do this work individually, right? We need to figure out what is alignment for me. And that's one reason why coaching is a beautiful thing to partake in because we help with that process. But if you were to do this on your own, which is completely possible too, getting really clear holistically in your life, like what is it that you want in your life? Fill out a freaking paragraph for each area. Your self-care, what does perfect self-care look like for you? What does a perfect, healthy, reciprocal relationship look like to you? What is work? What is your passion, your purpose? What is it that you want to pour your energy into? What does that look like? And don't look at other people. Don't think about logic. Think about what feeds your soul. Like, what is it that you're really, really, really good at? And focus there. Where are your strengths? And the tool that you can use for that is you can audit the people around you in your life and ask them, hey, what do you think my personal strengths and weaknesses are? That's been life changing for me when I did that. I found out that I had strengths I didn't even realize I had just from other people giving me feedback. Like I had so many people say, Lauren, you're the strongest person I know. I'm like, what? I'm like, that is so weird. I at the time pictured myself as being very fragile and like, and they're like, I've never met somebody stronger than you. Like, really? So you don't know what you're going to learn in these moments. And then it also helps you focus your energy on the right things, right? So also auditing what are things you can do to fill your cup. You can't pour from an empty cup. You have to take care of yourself first. These are all very important things to talk about before we talk about habits, because if you start doing stuff and you don't do these things first, you're going to move in the wrong direction, right? So what energizes you? What drains you? What's feeding your soul? What is it? when you just think about it, you just light up. Your whole body is like, oh, this is wonderful. For me, poetry, right? I just mentioned that. I also love singing. I love spending time with my daughter. You know, we all have different things that we enjoy. I love coaching. I feel full and full of passion, and I feel energized when I do my work. But it took time for me to get to where I'm at now, right? Uh, Looking at how can you experience life in a more fulfilling way? How can you add adventure to your days? How can you connect better with the people around you and really audit the people around you? Who's your actual support? Who is there but maybe better at a distance, and you can still love them, but maybe they're not really the support that you need? uh, who is completely toxic to you? And there's no judgment here. It's just, it is what it is. And getting really honest about these things so that when you are focusing on your goals and your purpose and your passion, you're not sabotaging yourself. So looking holistically at your life is so freaking important. How are you educating your mind daily? How are you feeding your mind? This is a perpetual growth machine, our brain, and this process, right? Like, if anyone ever tells you that they've reached their destination and they're in a leadership role, I would run in the other direction. This is a constant process. This is until the day we die. We're constantly growing, we're constantly working on ourselves. So, how are you pouring into yourself? How are you moving consciously with your finances? If you're not financially stable, if you're like completely broke, you're going to be in survival mode. You can't think straight when you're in survival mode. And if you can, then please teach the world how to do that, because I haven't figured that out yet. But it's very important that you are structurally sound and you have this foundation in your life, full spectrum. Are you eating properly? Are you taking care of your body? Are you working out? Are you doing the things to really nurture you and the people closest to you and the things that matter? So just want to start with that because I feel like it's so freaking important. Before you even build anything in life, you need to be structurally sound and you need to be focusing your energy in the right areas first.
I totally agree, Lauren. And I think just to pick up on one key word that you said right there, I mean, there were several, but the one that stands out for me is time. Time is the most valuable currency we all have, right? And people spend time. That's why I say it's a currency because you spend it. But if you spend it in the wrong places, doing the wrong things, in with habits that you're not necessarily benefiting or finding any gain from, then we need to then kind of switch how we're thinking of that, how we're thinking of spending our time. A lot of what I say, especially at Christmas time, is probably a big thing for me where I see a lot of people spending money that they don't have. They
Mhm.
spend money that they don't have, but don't spend time with loved ones. They think, a physical gift is worth more than their time that they could spend with a loved one. And that to me is back to front, right? We've got the most valuable thing that we own is time. And when you mentioned time, Lauren, there, it just, triggered a bit of a thought process of actually, yeah, time is critical for this. And especially when you're thinking about filling your cup, you know, making sure that you're filling it with the right things, the right people. You're the average of the 5 people you spend the most time with. So if we just take a moment and think of the 5 people that we spend the most time with right now, is that a good thing for you, or is it time to make, a few changes and think, do you know something? Bad
I'm a 10 year
influence.
old. I'm joking.
Yeah. Um, but yeah, and I think this kind of brings us into seamlessly. a conversation about habits, doesn't it? Because
Absolutely.
yeah, it really does. So where should we start with habits here then, Lauren? Because um, I, there's so many different things that we can start with. Um, so
I
you,
I have one, and I'm going to use this. This is our moat. Okay. I'm going to share the moat for your habits
okay,
because this is also very important. And then I think we can get to the nitty gritty stuff. But anything that you build, you want to protect. Anything you build of value, you want to protect. And I say moat because that's what boundaries are, right? If you go into a situation, I know Sean had mentioned he wants to be a mindset coach, or he's training to be a mindset coach, or you are a mindset coach, maybe all of those things. When you build this mindset coach business and you've got customers, if you don't have a moat around these things, boundaries around what you're building, if you're codependent with the people around you, if you're avoiding your own chaos, if you're not doing the proper work within, you're going to sabotage your efforts. Very important conversation to have because nobody talks about this. They just tell you, if you want to succeed, this is what you need to do. Go do it. But we all need boundaries. We all need a moat. We need to figure out how to be discerning with our time because it is a limited resource, and how to be discerning with our life force because that is too of limited resource. And we cannot be everything to everyone. And we can't be anything to the people that need us most if we're not taking care of ourselves. So discernment is huge. And one tool I can add to the table before we push forward to get into a little deeper into the habits is just doing an audit. Do an audit in your life right now. Where in your life do you feel overextended? Where in your life do you feel inauthentic? Where in your life do you currently feel drained? And get really clear on those things. Get to the root as to why. And then work on learning how to set healthy boundaries around these areas so that you're not feeling these ways anymore and you're choosing more conscious choices so that your energy is focused in a powerful way.
yeah, absolutely. I like that pause, and the reason I say that is because one of the things that I coach is the power of the pause, because it just gives a little bit of time, however long or short a period of time that is, just to think about what has happened or what has been said, or because if we allow our time ourselves to pause, you are more likely to make a conscious decision and a more logical decision, especially if it's something that happened that you weren't necessarily expecting. Give yourself time, and the brain to make conscious decisions and logical decisions, it needs time and oxygen. And that's why people say take a breath, because taking a breath allows you to pause, get oxygen, and just have some logic to your then decision that you need to potentially make. Um, so yeah, I think, and again, that doesn't just happen. It becomes habit if you practice. If you fail, if you fail at doing it, think, oh, I've made a snap decision there. I have, made an emotional decision that perhaps wasn't the right thing to do, but I acted on emotion. Um, as long as you're conscious of that, as long as you're recognizing what you're doing, you can think, what could I have done differently there? I could have paused. I could have just given myself a little bit of time to react in a different way, potentially. It's obviously scenario driven. So sometimes it's going to be an emotional response. Sometimes it doesn't even need a response at all. You know, there are many, yeah. So even no response is still a response. And again, this is driven through habit. So if you can even start by saying, actually, I'm going to just give myself time every time something happens, whether I expect it or not. If you can just have that conscious decision about pausing, taking a breath, and getting a conscious decision and a logical decision out there, more often than not, you're going to get a better outcome. Does that make
Break,
sense?
breaking a habit, absolutely perfect sense. Breaking a habit involves engaging the prefrontal cortex to disrupt anything automatic that you have, an automatic loop. And when you create new habits in place of an old one, it requires consistent effort to rewire your brain. And this process is supported by neuroplasticity, which is basically our brain is adaptable. It reorganizes itself. And when you repeat these behaviors, the synaptic connections between neurons strengthen. It's just like any muscle, right? It strengthens through a process called long-term potentiation, if I can say it right. This is how habits are hardwired into your brain. And the less that you do something, they pull away and dissolve. So if you can get into the habit of breathing before you do anything, imagine the conscious choices you can make and how you are rewiring your mind. Imagine on top of that, you have that holistic foundation in place so you're not emotionally scattered or unfocused, and you're already doing the things you love, so you're energized and you aren't stressed. And everything around you is also pouring energy into you because it's just naturally aligned with what you want. So yes, I mean the pause is huge. It's the way.
Mm,
The pause is the way through.
yeah.
Uh, what is it? The Bruce Lee, be like water. What is that quote that he states?
Formless. Yeah. Formless. Be like water, my friend.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. When we talk about the power of the pause and what we've just been discussing there, and let's give you a scenario, and hopefully everyone gets up in the morning and brushes their teeth. I mean, I do. I'm sure everyone else does on this call. But in this scenario, so brushing our teeth, I think it's a habit, right? We get up, do our thing, brush our teeth, whatever. Um, if you are right-handed to brush your teeth, make a conscious effort to brush your teeth with your other hand, and that will make actually you will be thinking about it. It will feel uncomfortable. It will be like, this is a bit weird, But if you've had that conscious thought and say, do you know something? I'm just going to brush with my, because it gets your brain working in a different way, and that actually helps you. It sets you up for the day ahead because your brain is already kind of functioning, thinking, okay, that feels different. So if that's just one example of of adapting or intercepting or changing an existing habit to make you think about what you're doing. So if you can think about what you're doing, not just cleaning your teeth, it could be something else. Maybe it's a bad habit. Maybe it's something, you come home from work and you go straight to the freezer, get straight to the fridge or straight to the cupboard, get some chips, get some snacks, get some, something that's bad for you. But if you're conscious that you're doing it, you're more likely grab an apple, grab an orange, grab some fruit, grab something that's more healthy. So you're still doing the habit, i.e., coming home from work and going to get some food because you're hungry, but you're intercepting the habit by saying, actually, I'm conscious. I know that that's bad for me. I'll go and grab some fruit because I know it's more healthy. And I see that, and I've had to, again, it doesn't happen overnight. You know, James Clear in Atomic Habits, it's an amazing, amazing, amazing book. If you haven't read Atomic Habits by James Clear, please do so because it is incredible. A lot of what I say is kind of an adapted version of what James Clear talks about. I mean, everyone has habits, and it's amazing when you think about what you're doing, how impactful your actions can be. So just imagine you're able to think about what you're doing more, you'll get better outcomes. So I think
Absolutely.
nearly 50% of what we do, we're on autopilot. That is scary.
Yeah, so if you become what you surround yourself with, this is something I started doing probably as soon as Annabelle was in my belly. How fast and productive and in a positive way do you think you will grow if you are immersed into environments where these people are already doing the things that you want to learn, where the people are already showing the habits you want to instill in yourself, where people are already speaking the language that you are trying to articulate? That's been my secret sauce in my growth and my ability to get to where I am today is my immersion, my full immersion. And I've done it since day one. I mean, even when I was dealing with, I'm just sharing this because maybe this will resonate with you guys and you might be able to leverage it. When I was dealing with my divorce from my daughter's father, I had some low days. I had to adapt to not having my daughter with me every day. And that was one of the hardest things I've ever had to do. Uh, Kudos to any single parents out there who've had to deal with that. It's so hard, and my heart is with you all. But during those days, I was very intentional about, okay, I'm going to go for a run. I made that a habit because I wanted to make sure I had those endorphins in my body. I'm going to get around things I love. I found a local jazz band bar place near where I lived. I love live music and I love jazz. I love blues. Blues was also another one. So I immersed myself in those places. I made sure that when the things I wanted to learn and grow and evolve into, like healthier patterns, that I was in groups where people were talking about these things and I was heavily involved in these discussions. So I wasn't just sitting idly praying, saying, please, God, fix me. I was doing work and I was pouring my energy into these places so that it almost felt effortless when I started to have these habits evolve into who I was. So that's a life hack. Number one. Number two, I know Pete, you mentioned earlier, and I think this resonates a lot with what I just shared about habit formation and the days and the number of days that it takes. And you said you would share more on the call. So I guess this is perfect time for that.
Yeah. So I did go live on my profile. I did a bit of a teaser, didn't I, about this call? And I happened to mention that um, habit formation takes an average of 66 days, right? Um, Now, if you Google it, the first thing that will come up is probably 21 days. Well, that's a myth. It's an average of 66, and that's proven scientifically. Um, and again, James Clear talks a lot about this. But if you think about New Year's resolutions, um, January is probably the worst time to start something new because if you go to a gym in January, there's probably 200% more people there, right? Come February, how many of those people are left? right? They don't carry it on because they haven't formed the habit yet. They want the 21 days to kick in and say, "Oh, why haven't I got a six pack yet? Why am I not feeling more energized yet?" Well, if we think about the 66 days, well, you know, have you invested in a physical trainer? Have you got someone to help you, to advise you on your diet? Are you going regularly enough to the gym? Are you using the weights in the right way? Are you doing cardio? Are you, you know, some people join a gym, and this is just an example, right? I can use any example, but I'm using a gym because it's probably the easiest one, especially in January, because everyone thinks, oh, I'll join a gym.
I so
Um,
resonate with that. I love working out and I'm a gym person and I've always every year I'd see that and I'm like,
yeah,
yep, check.
yeah, exactly. And this is why I say that, and I use Christmas time the best example because it is the best example. And when I'm talking to people about this and about trying new things or even working with me or working with you, Lauren, or working with a coach, it doesn't have to be me. But if someone says, "Oh, I'll join in whenever in 2 months," you're not forming a start now. There's no time to waste. Time is the most valuable currency. You don't know what's going to happen in 2 months' time. So if
Mhm.
you have that energy, that burning desire, and that will to do what you want to do, you would start today. You wouldn't think, "Oh, I'll start it next month."
And you
Form the
jump
habits now. Yeah, form the habits. Start. It's so important to start.
and the neural pathway, another hack of mine. So I was joking around about it the other day. Sometimes I'll order food in and I've changed my name on the app that I have to Love. So whenever they order food, they have the word love on it. So I'm like in every corner of my life, I'm surrounded by things that lift me up, that make me feel lighter, that energize me. And that's, I mean, if when you look around at home, you're stressed because there's too much clutter, start there.
Mm.
Again, because you need to be able to think clearly when you're moving throughout your day to even be conscious to begin with. But another thing that is a life hack. Uh, get very intentional about like social media is a thing, right? It's become kind of like the news platform for us. I don't know if that's how it is everywhere, but that's how it feels in my part of the world. And I made a promise to myself after I had Annabelle, and especially during that whole divorce time, that I would be very intentional with my social media feed and what I focus my energy on. It took me a minute to really get there. And I actually unplugged from social media to get very clear minded on myself because I found that to be very distracting. But you can curate even your social media feed to be uplifting, motivating, pushing your mind in the right direction. Because when you look on anything, a movie, the news, anything around you, that's getting imprinted into your unconscious mind and it's going to imprint how you see everything around you. So if you start your day with an alarm clock that's like, everyone's gonna die, then that's what you're gonna see everywhere you go. But if you start your day with an alarm clock that's like, you're powerful, I can do anything, I'm a leader, this world is working in my favor. If I just keep focusing my energy on the things that make me powerful and feel light and energized, then things are just going to flow in my favor. And I'm not going to let anything stop. If you focus on that, that's going to help your neural pathways
Mm.
progress in a much better direction as well. It's the programming of your mind ultimately that helps your habits stick.
Yeah, and just to add to this, the alarm is a great example on a morning. So, um, my favorite film ever is called Dragon, the Bruce Lee story. Where is he? He's there. And the theme tune of that is my alarm ringtone next to me, but it's not next to me. My phone is actually the other side of the room, so I can't reach it. So I have to get up to turn it off. The world's worst invention is the snooze button. If you have access, if you have access to your phone or whatever it is you use as an alarm and it's next to you, you will snooze it. I guarantee you, you will snooze it. Again, this is forming habits. So why don't you tonight when you go to bed, set your alarm, change the alarm to something soothing or nice to wake up to, not some kind of like Chucky themed movie or whatever it is, Child's Play, whatever. Um, that was the first thing that sprung to mind. I don't know why. Um, but if you change that alarm to something that you can nicely wake up to and put it in a position where you physically have to get up to turn it off, that is the start of your day. That is the start of your daily habit, your daily routine, and it will force you to get up and it will force, you'll thank yourself for it, right? And that is just small things that you can do, micro actions, micro steps, micro habits,
Mhm.
1%. Every 1% that you make a change, a positive change, they stack up. And if there's anything that you can take away from this call today, you know, 1%. Hi, Cheryl.
Good to see you, Sharon. Hello,
Just put your
everybody that
camera on.
joined.
Hi.
I had to
Habits.
finish eating my lunch, so I apologize.
Oh, good. Enjoy. I'm happy you made it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah,
Habits.
yeah. So that is something that I highly recommend is to put your alarm away out of reach. So it forces you to get up on a morning and have something nice and soothing that's going to make you wake up nicely, in a good mood or something that you really resonate with, your favorite movie theme tune like I've got. It can be anything that helps you wake up in a state of motion where, do you know something? I'm gonna get up, but I'm gonna leave it ringing because I love that. You know, things like that can make a big, big difference, especially on a morning when people might be a bit cranky.
Absolutely. Uh, One thing I was just harping on, yoga is a good mind-body connection exercise that can also help you form habits in a more effective way. So if you are really working on reprogramming your mind, that's I strongly and highly recommend yoga. It's one of again, life hacks that I used during the hardest times of my life. And I found a yoga studio here locally they're very big on the leadership mindset. So not only was I getting an awesome workout when I was immersed in their community, but I was also getting like leadership mindset training. So it was so freaking cool. It was like I couldn't have dreamt up any better. The founder is brilliant. And she has a ton of leaders that go there for that reason. So finding things like that are really going to help you, like you just mentioned. Also, one thing, the release of dopamine happens when you reward yourself. So
Yeah.
when you do perform a habit that is something that sometimes it feels uncomfortable because it's like it's new and it's maybe even a little painful, rewarding yourself is going to release dopamine in your system, which is going to help reinforce the behavior because it's creating that sense of pleasure. And over time, your body will start to release dopamine, not just for the reward, but in anticipation of that cue.
Yeah.
So once you start making these more aligned habits and doing things that are more aligned with what you want, even if it's painful, you can train your body to feel good about it over time when you reward yourself. So just want to throw that out there because we all
Absolutely.
love
Yeah,
it.
you make a really good point, Lauren, and that's actually part of what's on the board behind me because that habit loop, that's the habit loop is kind of part of what you've just described. James Clear goes to town on the habit loop. He's got his own version of the habit loop, which is I find really powerful because it actually makes you think about the build up into the outcome of your habit. And if I can just quickly turn around, hopefully you can still hear me.
I can hear
Um,
you.
this is a bit small here, but it's so the habit loop is the trigger, the routine, and the reward, right? That's the habit loop. James Clear takes it a little bit further than that, and he calls it the cue, the craving, the response, and the reward. Now, James Clear, he describes, so this is exactly how James Clear describes it, but I'm not going to change it because I don't think I'd do it justice. So, although I'm repeating what James Clear said, if you haven't get his book or get the audio. It's amazing. So, if you think of um, a mobile phone, a cell phone, um, and your phone's the other side of the room, but you hear it ping, you think, or you hear it buzz. That is the cue. That is the cue for you to go, somebody's messaged me. Someone's tagged me in a post on Facebook. Somebody, I've got a notification. That is the cue, that buzz or that ping, right? The craving is to go and grab your phone, right? You want to know exactly, who's talking about you, what's the latest news. That is the craving. The response is to get up and go and get your phone, unlock your phone and doom scroll, you know, that is, and you've satisfied that craving because you've heard your phone, you've had the craving, you've responded to all of that by going to get your phone and doom scroll as everyone does. And you've rewarded yourself by it was nothing. It was just another, I don't know, news feed notification. I didn't really need to, So in that example, he really breaks down the stages of how a habit can actually be negative, because sometimes, I mean, I often, if I'm in my office and I'm meant to be working, I'll leave my phone in the other room. So I can't hear it. I can't hear a ping. Or turn the notifications off, go on sleep mode or something, because again, you won't even know you're doing it. How many times have you ever picked up your phone and you didn't even know you'd done it, right? And you're meant to be you're meant to be having conversation with someone or you're socializing and people are there, they're on their cell phone going,
Addiction. It's an
right?
addiction.
It's addiction, it's just habit, it's just bad, you know. But when you don't know you're doing it, but you can associate it with this process, you can get more conscious of, I'm on my phone. Perhaps I shouldn't be, and then those habits then start intercepting or changing. So in a way to do that is if you're meant to be working, leave your cell phone in another room so you can't hear it. So I think that's a really good example how James Clear describes that habit loop in a bit more depth. So yeah, hopefully that um, makes sense to people on this call.
Yeah, absolutely. I think of when mentioned that, I think of so many things can become addictions. It's some of them aren't even tangible. And the more conscious we become about these things, the less control they have over us. And I would challenge everyone who's brave enough to take this challenge. When you have a trigger in your life, when something stresses you out, a stressor, a chaotic moment, and you have a stress response in your body, which is that animalistic response of the cortisol and the adrenaline to want to jump into that fight or flight state.
Mm.
If you can get very conscious about the things that you do then, what are you more drawn towards? What are you addicted to doing in that state? If you can get very conscious to those addictions, that's where your power is. And I guarantee you, your entire life will change for the better afterwards. And I know from personal experience, I don't need to even read a book and tell you that. It's really that simple. It's even more powerful when you have somebody to walk through this process with you. But at the very least, look in the mirror, look at these addictions that you have in this stress response moment, get clear with awareness. They no longer control us. And then you can reward yourself to a new and better habit, outcome, and a wealthy life.
Yeah, well said. And I think I just glanced down at my notes here because we could talk about habits for hours upon end, right? Because there's not just one way. There are
And
many ways. Yeah, there are many ways for many different people.
right,
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. And once you establish a way that works for you, the discipline and consistency is critical. And I
absolutely.
and don't underestimate when I say that. It is critical that you stay disciplined and find consistency. Now, doing that alone, I'm not saying it's impossible, but doing it alone is extremely hard. Extremely hard. If you have someone to hold you accountable for the habits or the actions that you take on a daily basis, and I'm not talking necessarily brushing your teeth in the morning, I'm talking more of the habits that are going to benefit you, whether it's your relationship, whether it's your work, whether it's your home life, whether it's anything that is, you know, precious to you, then I we've all tried to go it alone, right? And it's difficult. If you find your person to hold you accountable for your daily activities, then you're going to find ways that work not only for you, but work quicker. Because when you've got someone talking about habits and experiences that maybe they've had and learned by, I know for a fact that I've got a coach for a reason. I don't want to make the same mistakes that they've made necessarily. And I
Right.
say necessarily because sometimes you have to fail because failure is part of that growth process. My mentor has let me fail before, right? Because I think it's an important part of, ah, okay, I've learned another way not to do that. Because if you can form a habit of having that mentality about something that hasn't gone to plan, then that's more of a positive potato up on here. Look, I don't know whether you've noticed my positive potato just up there.
I love your positive potato. So
Yeah.
cute.
Um, but that is a more positive way of learning by failure. You only fail when you stop, right?
Absolutely.
You only fail when you stop.
Powerful. So
Yeah.
powerful. We have a couple minutes left. We want to leave some space
Yes.
for any
Absolutely.
questions. And then Pete and I have just a quick message for you at the end. And we want to respect your time today. We don't want to, I mean, I'd keep you for 4 hours if I could just to hang out with
And
you
me.
guys.
And
But
me.
I want to respect your time. So if you have any questions, now's the time to chime in. If not, we'll push forward. It is definitely recorded, Cheryl. I will make sure you get a copy to rewatch. Thank you for showing up too. The repetition, you just put it on while you sleep. Let it seep into your subconscious.
Set it as your alarm.
Oh, there was one thing that you said that triggered a thought in my mind, and I wanted to share. Oh, about the eating healthy thing. sometimes building a habit, you have to have boundaries about what you even bring home. So if you can use that same logic to your world, those kind of like boundaries, right? Like if you know when you're in a certain place, it pushes you into a more impulsive behavior, don't do it. Stay away, at least until you've built that muscle. And even then, like maybe have an accountability partner with you. Like, hey, don't let me do this. I'm about to go into this thing and I normally act this way. Can you please hold me accountable? Because if I don't have you, I'm probably gonna be XYZ. Like little small hacks like that could help tremendously. Thank you. Good to see you. Tim. Good to see you, Tim. All right. So, Pete, would you like to share a bit about what you want to share at the tail end?
Yeah, absolutely. Now, this is short and sweet. I don't want to take up much else of your time. I really appreciate the hour that you've spent with me and Lauren right now. Um, my offer is quite simple. I'd like to invite you to a free call with me, just a complimentary chat about anything that you feel that has really resonated with you today, and we can elaborate that on that more as a free complimentary call. I wouldn't charge you for that chat at all because you've dedicated your time today for us. So I want to give you something back as part of you showing up today. So if anyone would like a complimentary chat just for an hour and a half, whatever that is, then please find me on Facebook. You can find me, Pete Tarbuck, um, and you'll see my face. Do you know, I think I'm actually wearing this shirt on my profile. How weird is that? And I've just noticed that. So,
I less to
yeah,
worry about. You wear similar things. Go for
yeah,
it.
yeah. Well, it's at least I'm more recognizable then. So yeah, please just add me on Facebook, drop me a message in the chat while we're still um, on here now, and let's discuss anything that you feel that you want to know more about, and then we can jump on a call together. So that's me. So thank you for joining today.
Wonderful, Pete. And I also want to share with you guys, I'm going to have available November 1st a free habits mastery course, completely complimentary. And I'd love for you guys to be able to benefit from that. This is my first time doing anything like this. I'm really excited about it. And I shared the link in the chat. It's called mindmusclebuilder.com for the website. And I also have just completed a book on boundaries, which it was meant to be just a quick little ebook and it turned into being a little bit more than that. It's very short and sweet and to the point. I wouldn't say it's completely sweet. It's pretty direct. But the goal is for whoever reads it to be able to have a complete guide on how to master their boundaries in their lives. If you fill out this form, the second page will bring you to a discounted price for my book. And I'm happy to offer that up until the 1st of November. So I truly hope that you guys enjoyed today. Thank you for being here.
Thank
Your
you.
time, as we've mentioned, is a limited resource. Your life force is a limited resource, and you chose to be here with us. So grateful for each of you. And thank you, Pete, for just being you and spreading your light.
Oh, thank you so much, Lauren, and the feeling is mutual. I'm so glad that we connected, and this definitely won't be the last time we chat on a call like this. I love
I think
doing
we
these.
might be doing these more regularly. So you guys might see us soon. All right. Y'all have a beautiful rest of your day.
Take care, everyone.
Take care.